Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am so very excited to have you here. I'm doing something that I've never done before. Obviously, I say this all the time, but I've got my computer out and I'm going to be giving you my official rating change for all of the books that I read last year in 2023. If you've seen any of my other videos, you know that I don't give a rating on the book right after I finish reading it. I like to sit on it, think about it, and then come time for my monthly recap, then I just go ahead and give all of my ratings out at that point. It's really just because I'm so incredibly indecisive and I don't know exactly what I want to rate these books, so I need time to think about it. But also, I feel like once I tell you what my ratings are, they're just set in stone, solidified, and I can't change my mind, which I totally can. That's definitely how that works. But for me, it just, I don't know, I like to have all of my ratings and stuff kind of up to date. I like to keep them, I don't know. I just like to feel like my ratings are up to date and they are accurate and very true. Just because now I've been reading for a year, so I kind of have books to bounce my ratings off of. In the beginning, if I were giving books 5 stars, I didn't really have any other 5-star books to compare them to. Same thing with literally any of the other stars. But now I have a lot more to compare them to, so I can say, okay, this is probably about on the same level as this other book that I gave a 3 star, so it probably fits about in the 3-star category. So this is kind of just going through all the books that I've rated so far and kind of just going over them again, seeing what I actually think now looking back on them, how much I remember of them, how much I liked about them, how much I thought I liked about them that I actually looking back didn't really care for that much. And I'm just going to talk to you about them, and then we're going to go in and I'm going to show you everything that I would change and that I would keep the same and just kind of chat about it. Because I feel like if I'm telling you, hey, I read this like a little while ago when I didn't necessarily have anything to compare it to, and I did enjoy it, but now looking at it, I wouldn't necessarily care for it that much. It's not actually that great. It's just the only thing that I've ever read like that. You know what I mean? I rated a lot of thriller books pretty highly, and I know looking back at them now, that's definitely not something that I would give a high rating to at all, just because they were kind of boring. But I had already developed kind of this ideology that 4-star books were just something that I actually didn't guess, even though I didn't really care for the book that much at all. I don't know, it was just kind of complicated. I didn't really know what I was doing, and I thought I was doing an okay job, but looking back, it was just, I didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't rating the books properly, I feel like, in terms of what I would actually give the book. So I'm going to show you all of the books that I've read this year, and then I'm just going to go ahead right now and just re-rate them all from a fresh perspective, and then I'll let you know what changed, what didn't change, and then kind of what my new thoughts about the books are. So I still have not necessarily locked in my rating system. I don't really know exactly what I look for necessarily. I think 5-star books are really just, they give you the feels. You feel like it's a 5-star book, like just in your bones, you just kind of know. So that's kind of what now I gauge 5-star books at, so I don't necessarily rate a lot of them very highly like that. 4 stars are, they were really good, I really enjoyed them, I liked them. Some of them I had a few complaints, some of them I had no complaints, except they just didn't give me the feelings that I feel like I need from a 5-star. I don't know, I feel like 5 stars, I should not have to think about it. It should just be like, yes, this is a 5-star in my brain off the get. And if it's not, then chances are it's a 4-star, at least in my opinion. 3 stars are more just kind of like, either I liked the book, but it just had some things in it that I didn't necessarily care for. The storyline was good, but there was a bunch of stuff in it that I didn't like. Some of them are just okay to me. They weren't like great, but they definitely weren't bad necessarily. So that's kind of just my dumping ground, I would say. If it's not necessarily a bad book, or I liked it, but it wasn't really good, I guess that's kind of where I throw all of my 3 stars at. So that's just really a hodgepodge of a lot of things. I don't know, that one's hard to pinpoint. Where I start having an issue with deciding what to rate books are my 1 and 2 stars. I think right now my 2 stars are books that I didn't really care for that much, but I didn't hate. You know, like I could get through them at the end of the day, but I just really didn't like them. I didn't care for them at all. And then my 1-star books are just, I can't stand these books. I just didn't like them at all. So I think that I have a difficult time putting books in a 1-star category, just because it's not all the time that I'm finding books that I just genuinely don't like at all. I definitely have at least one I know that I just did not like. But other than that, it's kind of like a weird, some of them I can somewhat get behind. I don't necessarily mind them that much, even though I know that I dislike them. And then others I know that I don't like at all. I don't know. It's really just a feeling thing. I think the 1 stars are kind of just that feeling where it's like I can't get over how terrible the book was and how much I didn't like it. I also make it a point not to do half stars just for me personally, so I'm 100% making up my mind. I am making a decision and I'm fully committing to putting these books in a specific category. I'm not just kind of getting off the hook by giving it a half star or something like that. I'm really bad at making decisions, so this way I'm kind of pushing myself to actually make a solidified decision. I don't have to round up, I don't have to round down, it's just, this is what I think that it is. Now, yeah, I have some higher 4-star books, I have some lower 4-star books, same thing with all the other categories. I think there are some that are higher ranked in said category, but at the end of the day, they all just accumulate in that specific star tier. That's my opinion. Whether that's right or not, I don't really know. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of doing my own thing. I guess it doesn't really matter if it's right or not because it's just my opinion at the end of the day. So I was going to make a disclaimer. I'm not going to, because if I don't like the book, I don't like the book. If I do like the book, I do like the book. I'm not a bad person, right? If I like a book, I'm allowed to like the book. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you like, oh, these are just my opinions. Like, what? No, I don't care anymore. So we're just going to jump right into it. And we're going to go ahead and re-rate all of the books that I read last year. It literally took me forever to try to figure out how to screen record on this thing. Nick and I were up all night trying to figure out actually how I was going to be able to make this video for you. If it's not great, I'm sorry. I'm doing my absolute best. I couldn't find literally any information anywhere on how people actually record these, so I'm just going to kind of do my own thing. Starting off, I have Last Party by Claire McIntosh. I read this book. This is like literally the first book that I actually read getting back into reading. I talked about in a previous video that I read one book prior to this, aside from that series that I read over and over and over again. I read one book prior to that, but I ended up DNFing it. This is the actual first book that I finished. This one was also about a detective, surprisingly. The first book that I read was about a detective. I actually didn't mind this one though, I will say. I did enjoy it. It was a non-linear timeline, so it was a lot of back and forth trying to figure out what happened. I think this man was found dead in a lake or something like that, and the detective is trying to figure out who did it. This guy owns this like little resort thing, kind of. I don't know, he owns like 6 to 8 houses-ish along this lake, and he sells these houses to these like families as vacation houses. So it's basically someone in these row of houses that the detective is pretty sure murdered them, and she's trying to just figure out who did it. And there's a lot of back and forth. There's a lot of people doing bad things with each other. It's really odd. There's a lot of stuff going on. I surprisingly really enjoyed it. It definitely was not my favorite book ever. I think this, if I'm not mistaken, I think that this was a debut novel, and I think that she was starting to make this a series, which we know my opinions on detective series, so I'm not going to get all into that, but I definitely don't think that I would go to read the next book, but I think this one, there was a bunch of plot twists in it. I didn't necessarily care who did it that much because it just, everybody could have done it, and then what ended up happening wasn't that cool, I guess. It was just kind of a mid ending, I guess. I don't know, but there were some other plot twists deep throughout the storyline that I thought were very interesting. And I do think, I guess now that I'm thinking back on it, there was another plot twist at like the very, very end, if I'm not mistaken. I really don't remember, but I did really like this one. I think, let's see, I have my original ratings all right here, and I'm just gonna kind of bounce off of those the entire time, but I originally gave this one a 3 stars. I think that honestly makes sense. I don't necessarily think that this was a fabulous book by any means. It definitely had me pretty intrigued while I was reading it, and definitely being my first book getting back into reading, it definitely made that experience worthwhile, but it wasn't necessarily something that I think about all the time, really, and I don't even remember what happened. So I think that keeping that one in the, not in the 4 stars, keeping that in the 3-star category just kind of feels right. Then I read All the Dangerous Things by Stacey Willingham. I absolutely devoured this book. I ate this book up. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars whenever I first read it. I talked Nick's ear off about it the entire time. Given this was, like, again, one of the first couple books that I ended up reading, I was nervous to give it a 5 stars just because I didn't want to be that person that was like, yes, I'm going to give all the books that I read 5 stars, because I know that I don't feel that way about all the books. It's very difficult for me to get to that level of, I don't even know, feeling that the afterbooks gave me. I know that that's so terrible. I hate saying that, but it is what it is. So I think I ended up giving this one a 5 stars to begin with. This was so easy. I think I would still keep this at 5 stars just because I don't necessarily think about it all the time, but I do look at it and I know that I loved the book whenever I read it. And I feel like those feelings were very valid and genuine, so I do kind of want to stick with that. So definitely keeping that one up in the 5-star category. I don't have the heart to change it. I really don't. Also, really quick, I am going to go ahead and fix the cropping of these just because it's getting a little big. There we go. Okay. Better, at least in my opinion. Then I read Missing and Endangered by J.A. Janis. I absolutely did not like this book. I've talked about this a whole bunch. I've talked about this in, I think, like the last video that I filmed that you'll probably end up seeing like the day before this one. I didn't like it at all. It was about a detective as well. The entire book said it was about one thing and it completely wasn't. It was just terrible. It definitely was not something that I was expecting. I got it cheap, so I didn't really mind that much, but I was very, very thoroughly disappointed in this one. I gave this one a 2 stars. Thinking about it now, I don't necessarily want to put it in the 1-star category just because the book itself wasn't bad, I guess, thinking back on it, but just, I don't know. It just, something about it I couldn't stand. I was so mad that it was not at all what it said it was about, and I just didn't care about the second case at all. So honestly, I don't know. I really didn't hate the book, I guess, but I really just didn't want to read it at all. So I feel like that constitutes a 1 star. I don't know. Should I change it? Should I do it a 1 star instead of 2? I don't know. I think I'm gonna go ahead and move it down to a 1 star because I was so disappointed with that book. I couldn't even sit here and explain it to you. I was so mad. I did not like it at all. I would never recommend this book to anybody, and if anybody was like, yeah, I'm thinking about getting this book, I would probably try my best to change your opinion. Not a big fan at all. The next one that I read was Cyanide. I think I read this one from like a book talk recommendation. I did not like this book at all. I don't really remember what it was about necessarily. I just remember that I was not impressed reading it at all. The book itself hurt my hand. It was kind of a very difficult book to hold. I got this one on Amazon and I was very excited to read it whenever I first got it, but just because the cover was cute. I mean, you can't tell me that this cover is not cute, right? But at the end of the day, it wasn't good. It was really boring, and it was also a romance book. I don't want to like sit back because I feel like I'm too far away, but I'm also kind of uncomfortable. I don't know, if that's too far back, like, sorry. I was so excited about this. This was, yeah, the first romance book that I was going to be reading. So I was very stoked for this, and then for this one to fall flat like it did, I was just really disappointed. Let's see what I gave this one. I gave this one a 2 stars to begin with. I think that I would stick it with that. It wasn't terrible. I didn't care for the characters at all. The development, I feel like they didn't really develop that well. I don't know. The girl, she definitely grew up a little bit. Her dad was kind of obnoxious. He definitely wanted to keep control of her, if I'm not mistaken. Didn't really care for that. I didn't care for the guy. I didn't like their relationship at all. I feel like she was kind of mean to him also, and I don't know how he liked her at all. I really don't. So there was that. Was not a fan of it. Then we have What Lies in the Woods. This one was a thriller book. I remember reading this one pretty early on and this being like one of the thriller books that I really enjoyed, but it wasn't my favorite by any means. I didn't really love it, and I don't think that the plot twist necessarily was that great either. I don't really remember, but to the extent of my knowledge, I don't think it was anything to write home about. I ended up giving this one a 3 stars to begin with. I think that probably makes sense. I don't really remember much about it anyways. I don't think that the plot twist was that aggressive. I think the premise of it was like these girls played in the woods and then they found a set of bones or something like that, and I think that they called her Persephone, and I literally could not pronounce this name the entire time I was reading the book. So the whole time I was just like sounding it out and like, what is this? And then I had to look it up. I've never seen that written before. I've also really never heard it, to be honest, either, but I literally had to look it up, and then I kept forgetting what it was and what the pronunciation was, so I had to look it up like multiple times, like over 10 times to try to remember it, and I kept forgetting, and it kept driving me nuts. So I think I just ended up calling the girl P because I just couldn't remember. I eventually got it, but like, oh my gosh, that was so obnoxious. Didn't really care for it that much. It was not bad by any means. I think I got it in like a book of the month box. So I ended up reading it. I'll keep it at 3 stars. I have no problem with that. Then I have If He Had Been With Me. I read this book and I absolutely adored it. I didn't really care for Autumn's point of view that much. I really just liked whenever Finn came into play. I don't know, I just didn't relate to Autumn that much. I also didn't understand her quirks necessarily, and sometimes they kind of just were obnoxious to me. I didn't really care for it necessarily until they got together at the end. It was just like a big budding slow burn that finally came all together for me, and I was very excited about that. It definitely gave me all the 5-star feelings, and so I gave it a 5 stars, and I think that I would definitely keep it at a 5 stars. I'm very excited for like Finn's point of view to come out, just because again, I really only liked whenever he came on screen, and so I don't know, I just feel like that's gonna be so much better. I'm gonna enjoy that so much more, and I feel like, I don't know, I'm just so excited. Again, I didn't really care for much of the book aside from the end, and not the sad ending, like the good ending I would say, but I don't know, I have to go to 5 stars because I literally think about it all the time. I'm not even joking. I cannot stop thinking about that book, and I can't stop thinking about like the feeling that it gave me, and I am so freaking excited to read the next book that comes out, like beginning of February, something like that. I'm literally gonna run to the bookstore, like just I'll run if I have to, and I'm gonna get that book. I'm not messing around. Then I have the Summer I Turned Pretty series on here. I read all 3 books, so I just went ahead and put them all on here. I don't know which books I liked the most out of these. I don't really remember what went on in the second and third book. I obviously remember the first book a lot more because I have watched the series on, Amazon. I've watched the first season. I didn't watch the second one yet just because I've been waiting. I wanted to binge it all. I wanted to just have it be done, and I thought it was done because I saw the end of it and I was like, oh, okay, like that checks out with the end of the book. No, it doesn't. It doesn't check out with the end of the book at all. I was totally wrong. It was only the first book in the first season, so I guess I'm just gonna have to wait for that. I also don't have Amazon Prime myself. I was watching it on my parents' TV, so I guess I'll watch it at some point, just not right now. I know for a fact that I did like the first book the best. I don't remember necessarily what happened in the second and third book. I feel like, to my recollection, I preferred the third book over the second book, but again, I don't really remember that much. I have a bad memory, if you didn't know already. I gave these books 3 stars to begin with. I think that makes sense. I definitely didn't love them. I thought that they were kind of childish, which is fine because they are children's books. Not children's books, I guess. They're more like young adult books. So they definitely felt very YA to me, and that's fine. I honestly do prefer the show of this a lot better. I feel like the show is a little bit more for a little bit older audience than the book was. So I do enjoy that a lot more. I like watching the show a lot better. And I also think that the cast did it pretty well. So can't really complain there. I have The Golden Couple. I don't remember a ton about that book. I remember that I enjoyed this one a lot. It definitely was, I don't know, it was interesting. It kept me on my toes a lot. It was about a therapist that she has like this really odd method of therapy. She'll like stalk her patients outside of work and stuff just to really get a feel for who they are and what they do. So I don't know. I really don't remember exactly what the deal is with her. I know she got her license revoked, so she's no longer physically allowed to be a licensed therapist, but she does do therapy for people. So she has this couple come in for couples therapy. I don't know if the husband cheated on the wife or if the wife cheated on the husband. I don't know. I feel like somebody cheated on somebody. They were coming into couples counseling. I don't think that the man was, I don't even remember. I'm literally just sitting here like, oh, well, it could have been this or this. Like, obviously there's only 2 options. So either the man was really excited about doing therapy and he was like willing to do anything that it took to help his wife out, or on the flip side, he was either just like totally unwilling and didn't want to be there at all. I don't remember what the case was, but I do remember that it was a very big plot twist. The therapist was just kind of going out and trying to figure out what was going on with this couple. She was doing all the things that she probably shouldn't be doing, like snooping around and stuff like that. I really liked this one. I ended up giving this one a 4 stars. I don't remember much about it, to be honest, and I don't know if this is just that I have a terrible memory and so I want to drop down stars whenever I don't remember much about it, but I think at the same time, if I don't remember much about it, then it probably shouldn't be up at a 4-star anyways, right? I don't know. This is not good. This is really hard. I hate doing this. I don't know why I chose to do this. I do remember liking it a lot better than What Lies in the Woods. I don't know if I liked it a lot better by a lot. I don't know if I liked it better by a ton or if it was just kind of like a little bit. I guess I'll just go ahead and keep it at 4 stars just because I really don't remember much about it at all. Man, this is going so slow. I don't remember much about it at all, but I do remember that I did really enjoy it and I thought it was very interesting, and I don't necessarily remember that much if it was an intense plot twist or not, but I know that I was just intrigued. I think the ending let me down a little bit, but I really enjoyed the entire ride to get to the end. Makes sense. Then I have my favorite half night stand. I heard somebody talk about this in the sense of it almost was like New Girl. It was, I guess I could kind of see where they're coming from with that. It was like New Girl had a text chain, and that's kind of what we were talking about. I think the roommates or friends or whatever it was, they were trying to find dates for the other folks in the group, and 2 of them ended up falling in love, something like that. I don't remember a ton about this. I remember even when I was reading it, I was kind of disappointed. I wanted to really enjoy it, but at the end of the day, I just didn't really care for it. I did end up giving this one 3 stars to begin with. I do think that as of right now, I would go ahead and drop it down to 2 stars. Again, it was not something that I would recommend to anybody. I don't love it. I didn't care for it that much. It definitely was not my favorite book ever, that's for certain. And I was really upset. I was really disappointed. I remember that reading it. I really wanted it to be super good, and it wasn't, in my opinion. I really have to get going with this. I've already been recording for like 25 minutes. Reminders of Him, I liked it when I read it. I thought it was pretty good. I was expecting not to care for it that much just because it was a Coho book. I think as a whole it was pretty good. I don't know. I remember feeling bad for the girl. I was kind of upset that the family didn't let her see her child. I don't know. I thought it was pretty good. I gave it a 4 stars. I'll go ahead and keep it at a 4 stars just because, again, I enjoyed it. It was not bad by any means. I think it so far is definitely my favorite of her books. There are some other ones on here that you will see I didn't care for that much. It was more deep, I would say, than the rest of them. It definitely was kind of sad and upsetting, but I wasn't on the edge of my seat reading it, but I did really like it. I thought it was decent. Then I have Before I Let Go. I don't remember much about this book at all. I just remember it was like this couple that decided that they didn't want to be together anymore, and then they were kind of fighting to win each other back over and re-get married. I don't know if they were physically divorced yet or if they were just split up and didn't want to be together anymore, but it was kind of just like them trying to get back together and re-find their relationship with each other, I guess. I didn't think it was bad. I didn't love it that much. It wasn't necessarily my type of book. It definitely seemed more like an older person book, like an older audience would really enjoy that and get a lot out of it. I'm, haven't been married for like 2 years. I don't ever plan to be like this in the book. Obviously, if I was ever going to, then I have the perfect whatever for it. I gave it a 3 stars to begin with. I think I would keep it at a 3 star. I thought it was kind of an emotional book, kind of I don't know, I could see where people really liked it. It just wasn't necessarily my taste, I guess. Then I read Corrode, and that's the second book to Cyanide. Reading this, I was at the point where if I started a series, I really couldn't not read it. Not necessarily that I wanted to, but I just felt obligated to finish the series, I guess. Obviously, I'm not really like that now. If I just don't like it, if I don't really care for the series, I'll just stop and I won't finish it. But I did end up reading this one. This one, again, second book in the series. This one was about the brother, I think. He got out of prison. I did like this one a lot more than I liked the first one. I ended up giving it a 3 stars off the get, and I think I'll go ahead and keep it at that. I didn't really love it that much, and I don't remember if the main characters ended up making a big appearance in it or not. I don't feel like they did, but it wasn't bad by any means, just not like my favorite romance book that I've ever read. And starting off with a book that I didn't like as much, I definitely was not expecting to like it as much, but it wasn't terrible. Then I have Harry Potter. I did not rate this book after I read it at all because I didn't know what to give it. I ended up watching the movies with Nick shortly before I read this, I'm pretty sure. So I had already seen the movie, and I have an issue rating books when I've seen the movie before I read the books, just because I kind of think about the movie while I'm reading the book. So if I'm thinking about the movie while I'm reading the book and I already really like the movie, then I'm kind of more automatically going to like the book more because I've already got that mental image in my head. So for me, reading it, it was more just kind of thinking about all of the negative stuff that I've heard from the book from other people, thinking about that and also thinking about the movie at the same time, it definitely was very similar to the movie. I don't think that there was much that the book had in it that the movie didn't, and vice versa. Normally, whenever you see book to movie adaptations, the books and movies are kind of different. They have a lot of stuff that the movie doesn't add into it, a lot of details that they don't translate over, and then also they just kind of swap things up. So I didn't really see much of a difference between the book and the movie, so therefore it just kind of was the same to me. Also, I do understand now where people are coming from, that the world building was terrible, because I don't feel like that there was any active descriptions of the castle, the setting. I didn't really understand where we were at. I knew where we were at because I've seen the movie. I think that if I read this first, I wouldn't necessarily put two and two together of where we're at, and I definitely would not have pictured the movie that we got based on the book, I guess. So I think, like, looking at it now, I would give this one a 3 stars. I liked it. Again, it was good, but it wasn't like anything great, I guess. That's just my opinion. And then I have The Maze Runner. I love the book, love the movie. The movie, oh my gosh, like, can we talk about the movie for a second? Good grief. Like, that's my movie right there. I've seen that movie a million times. Love it. Also, I love the book. Again, this one's one of those ones where it's definitely different from book to movie. There are a lot of similar things, but especially the ending. The ending is definitely so different. They did not stick with the original ending at all. They did, but the way that they showed it was definitely a lot different. Also, the grievers were definitely much different than they described them in the book. It didn't even matter though, because I absolutely love this stuff. I love the series, I love the movies, love the book. It's just really good. I give it 5 stars. I still would. It just, I don't know. I can sit there and read the book and then also be thinking about the movie, and it's just 10 out of 10. 100%, even if it was different. Then I have Throttled. I absolutely hated this book when I read it. Absolutely still can't stand it. It's one of the worst books I've ever read, so that's just gonna stay at a 1 star, and I really don't have much to say about that. The Last House on Needless Street. Again, this one's super easy. Gave this one 5 stars whenever I first read it. Would still continue to give this 5 stars. I cannot talk about this book because I don't know how to talk about it without giving any of it away. But it was so unique. It was so different. It definitely had a lot of trigger warnings in it, so if that's something that you need to watch out for, then I would definitely do that. But I can't tell you, because it would just give everything away, and it's so difficult to explain anything. It's so difficult to recommend it to people without being like, hey, this is what it's about, because then it just, I don't know, you just have to read it. It's really good. We have Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. I also give this one a 5 stars whenever I first rated it. I would drop it down right now to a 4 stars. If I gave half stars, I would probably do like a 4.5, because I still did really enjoy it. It was basically about this woman. I don't know, would I give it 5 stars? I would give it 4 stars. The ending was not great, but it definitely kept me on my toes the whole time. It was about this woman that her husband basically kept her prisoner in her own house. She wasn't allowed to talk to anybody. She wasn't allowed to do literally anything. It was just really crazy, and basically her husband wanted to like torture her in her own house, and his ultimate goal was to bring in her Down syndrome sister to torture her as well in this house. Not necessarily like physically torture, I don't think, but it was more just like mentally. What they said in the book was to scare her. I don't necessarily think that it was kind of cringy the way that they explained that, but at the end of the day, it was still very interesting, and I did kind of like it. So I'll end up dropping it down to a 4 stars, just because that ending, I expected it, and it wasn't fabulous by any means, but it was still pretty good. So then I read the Brutal Prince series. What is this? Brutal Birthright series. I honestly, this is like the end of me deciding that I have to finish the entire series, even though I don't like it that much. I read the first one, I didn't really care for it that much, and then I kept reading it, because I was like, I already started it, I can't stop now, I have to finish it. And it just totally is not something that I would read now. I would definitely not have picked it up if I would have known kind of this. I don't know. I should have just stopped while I was ahead, but I didn't, and I kept going. Obviously, there were some books in the series that I ended up liking a lot better than the first ones, but, you know, just, at the end of the day, I just don't care for the series as a whole. I don't really love the idea behind it that much, and it just was, like, okay to me. So I gave the first one a 3 stars. I'd probably keep that one there just because it wasn't bad, I guess. I didn't really like it a ton, but, you know, it was still good. I gave the second one a 3 stars. I probably would still do that. This one is, a higher 3-star for me. I like this one a lot more. It definitely felt, I don't even know. I don't have a feeling behind it. I just know that I like that one better than I liked the first one. Definitely not by a ton more, but I did. Then we have Savage Lover. I don't remember anything about this one. I don't remember who this was about. I don't know. Maybe this is the one with where he was like a president or like a bodyguard or something like that. I gave this one a 3 stars. I'll go ahead and keep it at 3 stars. I don't remember like literally who in the family this one was, but you know, I guess I liked it. This one, what is that? Bloody Heart. Again, I gave this one a 3 stars. I guess I'll just keep it because I don't remember. I really don't. Broken Vow. I gave this one a 4 stars. I know that I really, really like this one. I do remember what it was about. I just don't know if I would keep it at a 4 star. Because to me, Behind Closed Doors was so much better than Broken Vow. Oh my gosh. It was so much better than Broken Vow, but Broken Vow still was so much better than any of the other books in the series. I was like definitely 100% my favorite. I would end up giving these other ones like 2.5, 3 stars, and I think this one would be like a 3.5-ish, something like that, to 4, 3.75, I don't know. But again, I don't do like any of the half ratings, so I'll just go ahead and keep it in the 3 star. That one, I'll go ahead and drop it down just because I don't necessarily think it belongs. I don't know. I really liked it though. I really enjoyed that one. Oh, this is so difficult. What would I rate this? I don't know. It's not like the end of the world by any means, obviously. I'll go ahead and drop this down to a 3. Again, not that I didn't like it at all, but I definitely don't think that it's a 4 star. I just wanted to give it a differentiation. Did I even say that right? I don't know. I wanted to make it different, obviously, than the other books that I gave it a 3 stars because I did like this one a lot more. But obviously I can keep them still in the 3-star category together. They just are on different levels. Then I have Heavy Crown. I gave this one a 2 stars, and I'm gonna drop it down to 1. Honestly, I just remember absolutely not liking this book at all. I don't know if it was just because I was super tired of the series or what, but I just remember this one being about the last youngest brother, and I didn't care at all. I didn't like it. I don't remember anything about it, other than the fact that it was terrible. So I gave that one a 2. I'll go ahead and drop it down to a 1 just because I feel like that's the right thing to do. Then I gave Freida McFadden's The Inmate a 4 stars. I would definitely drop that down to a... Ooh, would I give it a 2 or would I give it a 3? I'd give it a 3. I didn't like it that much. I think, honestly, I originally gave this a 5 stars, and I felt like I had to just because it was a thriller book. I don't think that this one was that fascinating. It was pretty good, but I guess the ending of it, like, from the get. Like, I already knew what was going to end up happening, and then it did end up happening. It wasn't, like, anything crazy by any means. I thought that the setting was kind of interesting, but I wasn't shocked at all. So I guess 3 stars makes sense. So I am dropping that one down. The Moonlight Child, I don't remember literally anything about that. I don't remember. I would go ahead and drop this down to a 3, I think, as well, because I don't remember what it was about. I remember that it was like this family across the street saw this young child and was trying to figure out if the child was being abused or not. Maybe I did really like this. Now that I'm like thinking about it like actually in depth, I do remember enjoying something along the lines of that. I'll go ahead and keep this at a 4 star because I feel like I remember this being like relatively close to Behind Closed Doors, and I really enjoyed both of them together. So I'll go ahead and keep that kind of on the same realm. Keep it at a 4 stars. Now that I'm actually thinking back on it, I do remember enjoying that a lot more than I was thinking of, I guess, a few seconds ago. I don't know what I just said, but whatever. Then we have The Quarry Girls. I gave this a 2 stars. I would keep it at the 2 stars. It definitely was not terrible, but it just was really odd. I listened to this one on audiobook, and I think that the narrator really just absolutely killed the book for me. I did not like her narration in the slightest. I thought she made everything sound a lot creepier than it was, and I also didn't like the premise of what was going on to these girls. It was kind of gross. So 2 stars. There was a kidnapping that was also happening simultaneously to what was happening to the other girls. I didn't really care for those 2 crisscrossing plot lines, but they happened, and then also I didn't like any of the ending stuff. I didn't care for the boys in this at all. I don't know, it was just not very great. Then I read Regretting You by Colleen Hoover. I gave this one a 3 stars. I would honestly drop this down to a 2 right now. I remember eating this book up whenever I first started it. I started on an audiobook, and I absolutely was flabbergasted. I heard the first initial piece of drama, and I was like, no way. Like, you're joking. You're kidding. No way this is what's going on. And I went home and I finished the rest of the book. I absolutely ate the first 5 chapters up, 10 chapters. I texted my friend and I was like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. Then I got into it. The daughter was annoying me. She was being so rude and just ridiculous. The mom and the guy, I didn't care about their relationship that much either. They didn't really go anywhere for me. I don't know. It just was really weird. I liked it at the very, very beginning, and then just after a little bit, I was like, this is really odd. I don't really care for this much anymore, but I finished it, and I'll go ahead and give it a 2. That makes sense. Then I read Keeper of Enchanted Rooms. Again, I read this one on audiobook. I freaking loved this book. I loved the audiobook. The narration was perfect. I thought it was so sweet. It was so different. I don't know necessarily whether or not I care for it that much, but like, just I can't not give it 5 stars. It was so different. It was so unique. I thought it was really, really cute, and I did really, really enjoy it. I really liked it. I read The Runaway Groomsman. I remember thoroughly enjoying this while I read it. I don't remember much about it now. I don't remember the ending of it. I thought that the relationship between the guy and the girl was pretty good. I do remember I wanted to read more Megan Quinn books after I read this, so I'll probably go ahead and keep it at a 4 stars. I don't remember much about it. Obviously, I just said that, but I mean, it couldn't have been bad. I remember there was a couple things that I didn't really care for it, but other than that, I really enjoyed most of it. The Heir of Uncertain Magic, I listened to this one on audiobook as well because I read the first one on audiobook, and I was like, this is so good. I can't not read the next one on audiobook, so I did that. Finished it, loved it. I actually liked this one more than I liked the first one. I thought that it was a lot more high stakes. It was a lot more intense, so I ended up liking that one better, but I still gave them both 5 stars because they were really good. Also, I'm very excited for the next book to come out. I think that's coming out like end of January, something like that, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe February, probably February, because literally every book that's coming out this year is coming out in February. But I'm very excited to read that one nonetheless. I'm probably going to strictly listen to that one on audiobook, and I'm so excited for it. Then I read Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I gave this one 4 stars. I'll keep it at 4 stars. I thought it was really interesting. I really do love Taylor Jenkins Reid. Is that her name? Yeah, I really do like Taylor Jenkins Reid books. I like the way that she writes. I like that they're not necessarily romance books, but there can be little spurts of romance in them, but they do feel like I'm reading a totally different genre, which I really enjoy. They're just so unique. I don't know how she thinks of these books. I don't know how she thinks of the plots, but she does, and I think that they're really good, and I really like them. I do think that it got kind of boring at some points. There were spots where I was like, okay, like, it's kind of going on and on and on about, like, the same thing over and over again, but I think as a whole, it was just so unique. I really, really enjoyed reading that. I was reading this while I was dog sitting, and so I read this a lot on their back porch, and it was just a beautiful scenery, and just the feelings that I got while reading this book were just almost unmatched. So I did give this one a 4 stars. I gave it pretty high. I really liked that one. Then I have You Shouldn't Have Come Here. I gave this one a 3 stars. I'm gonna keep it at a 3 stars. It was not bad. I just didn't care for it that much. I didn't really like it. It was just really boring, I guess. I kind of like figured that what happened was going to happen, and then they plot twisted a little bit more on top of that, so I was not necessarily expecting that, but I just didn't care. I didn't care for the plot twist at all. But it was not bad, I guess. I don't know. I might even drop that down to a 2 star. I remember being disappointed, but I didn't dislike it. I guess that's like a difference between 3 stars and 2 stars. Is 2 stars, I just remember not liking it. Then we have The Locked Door by Frida McFadden. I gave this one a 5 star. I liked this one more than I liked The Inmate, so I felt the need to give this one a higher rating, but honestly I think I would give this one a 3 star as well right now. I didn't care for it that much. I don't really remember much about it. I think this one was involving the surgeon, if I'm not mistaken. She was a surgeon and her dad killed people. He was like a serial killer or something like that, and basically some of her patients end up getting murdered in the same way that her dad was killing people, so they kind of thought that it was her. It was kind of odd. I didn't really love it that much, but again, it was not terrible, but I do think that I gave this one a higher rating than I ever thought I would, because I felt obligated to give it a better rating than The Inmate, like physically. But at the end of the day, like I said, these are just very much a range of different ratings in the books, since I don't do those half stars or anything like that. And then I read The Hunger Games. I already saw the movies for these before I read the books. I'm gonna give them all 5 stars just because they weren't that different. There was a few differences, not a ton. I still loved them. Honestly, literally can't go wrong with them. I thought they were great. I would definitely read them over again, so that's definitely a good sign. Then we have The Ballad of Snakes no, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I gave this one a 4-star, I believe. Yeah, I gave this one a 4 stars. I would continue to give it a 4 stars. I really liked it. It definitely was really good. I think that I was in a reading slump whenever I was reading it because I really didn't want to read it at all, but I forced myself to sit down and finish it. And then once I forced myself to sit down and finish it, I was enjoying it a lot more, therefore I wanted to keep reading it. But it definitely was not on the same level that the original books were. Obviously this one's a prequel, so they don't have the same characters in it at all, except for President Snow and maybe a couple other people. But it was not bad by any means. I thought it was really good and I enjoyed it. It was just a different level. It wasn't the same as The Hunger Games, obviously, because it's like, it's still the same franchise, but it's a different branch. Then I read Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. I gave this one a 4 stars. I would continue to give it 4 stars. I enjoyed it. I definitely didn't think that it was as good as I thought it was going to be. I was expecting it to be like a 5-star fantastic. There was just something about it that I didn't really like. I don't know what it was, but I just didn't care for it that much. The plot twist got me. I definitely was not expecting that necessarily, but it just was odd. It was a little different. I didn't love it. I was expecting to love it and I didn't. Then we have Ugly Love by Miss Colleen Hoover. I think I originally gave this one a 3 stars. I'm gonna go ahead and drop it down to a 2. I did not like it. I didn't like the storyline. I did not like what was going on. I did not like the step siblings being interested in each other. I thought that was kind of weird. I really don't have much to say about it. I'm just 2 stars. It wasn't terrible. I got through it and it wasn't like awful. I just didn't like it. You know what I mean? By a Thread, I gave this one a 3 stars. I would continue that as well. I wouldn't change it. I did not love this one. I liked the plot. I did not like the spice. I didn't. And I have talked about this a million times. I just don't like the way that she writes spies. I feel like obviously I've not read another book by her, so I will at some point and be able to fully decide whether or not that that's accurate. As of right now, I don't care for it. I did not like the way that she did that. I just wanted them to fall in love, really, and they were just banging. There was also some things that she wrote that I just feel like were very odd. They felt more like you would see in a movie than read in a book. Like they had extras talking and like background characters, and I don't understand why she felt the need to do that. I thought it was very awkward and I didn't like it at all. Also, the extras and stuff in the background people in the book were also really annoying and they really drove me nuts. I'm very big on believability and this was just not believable in the slightest for the extras talking, so I definitely dropped that one down to a 3. I'll probably keep it that. It wasn't bad. I enjoyed the plot, but I don't know. There's a lot that I could not get behind. Don't Let Her Stay by Nicola Sanders. I gave this one 5 stars. Obviously, I'm going to keep it at a 5 stars. I will not shut up about this book. It is so good, and I feel like it's not your typical thriller. There was plot twists, but the plot twists weren't heavy plot twists. They were just kind of like, oh, like, I really figured that this was how it was going to be. And then they plot switched it again. You were like, oh, like, yeah, that made sense. I more cared about this book for the way that it just had my heart racing the entire time. I was so mad for this lady. I was irritated for her. They were gaslighting her like I can't even explain it. They were just nonstop like harassing this lady. And it was driving me absolutely bonkers. I was so mad for her. When she got upset, I got upset. I could not believe what was going on. I could not believe that her husband was not on her side. Oh my goodness, it was literally terrible. It had my, like, all of my emotions were running at the exact same time as hers were. I could not believe it. It was so good. I've never had a book that made me feel all of the emotions all at once like that, and I cannot get over it. I love this book so much. I would recommend it to literally anybody. I loved it. I thought it was so good. So I have to give it a 5 stars. Let's see how much we got left. Okay, I gotta finish this. I'm talking way too much. This is ridiculous. I have Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. I gave this one a 4 stars, I think. I gave this one a 4 stars. I enjoyed this one. I did really like it, actually. This is probably the first, like, memoir nonfiction type book that I've ever read. I was reading this one and the next 2 books. I was reading books that were on Nick's Kindle for a video, and I liked it. I thought that this one was pretty good. This was basically about his story kind of growing up until that point when he finished the story, and then the next book of his goes from that point on to a few years later. So this one definitely had a very wide range. I liked that. I thought it was really good. It was very interesting. And I have mad respect for him. I really do. I read The Great Gatsby. I gave it a 3 stars. Would continue to give it a 3 stars. I didn't love it that much. I honestly had a really difficult time comprehending it the whole time. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't really like it. I wasn't paying attention that much. It wasn't very long, but for some reason I just couldn't do it. Never Finished by David Goggins. I gave that one a 3 stars. This one is mainly more about him running his marathons, and then also I think him getting hurt and then trying to get back into it. Again, it was not bad at all. It was definitely his story, so I don't want to say it was a terrible book and I didn't like it, but it just was not my cup of tea. I didn't find much interest from it just because I'm not in that realm. I'm not a runner like that. I can't do 700 pull-ups. It's not for me, but I kind of get it. Then I have War D by Frida McFadden. I don't remember this one at all. What is this one even about? Okay, I take that back. Word D is the one that I gave a 5-star that I guess thought The Inmate was that one, but I guess it's not. I don't know. I gave it a 5 stars. I would give it a 3 stars. This is the one that I was thinking The Inmate was. I don't know what The Inmate is now at all. But she spent the night like in a psych ward, and basically everything that I thought was going to happen ended up happening, and it just wasn't that interesting. I didn't really care that much, I guess. Now let's see what The Inmate is about, because now I'm confused. Okay, The Inmate was... She used to be dating the guy that was in there, and I think he ended up killing like all of her friends. I would still give that one a 3 stars too. I didn't really care for that one that much either. I definitely expected what was... Nah, I take that back. I didn't expect what was gonna happen at all. That one just was confusing. I didn't understand where the ending came from, like, at all. But whatever, to each their own. The Summer of Broken Rules, I remember reading this one. I got all the 5-star feelings in the world from it. I have to keep it a 5 stars just because I literally read this book and I was like, I already want to reread it. Whether or not I would enjoy it now if I reread it, I don't really know, but I just remember in the moment I really, really loved it and I thought it was so good. So I can't change it. It might be corny, but whatever. Then I have Daughter of No Worlds. I gave this one a 4 stars. I feel like this is the first like fantasy book that I read, so I felt obligated to give it a 4 stars. Looking back at it now, I don't know if I would. I don't feel like 3 stars is necessarily that. I just remember being really confused, and it was so hard for me to get into. I think I would give the first book, I would still keep it at a 4 stars, just because I really liked it, and I thought it was very fascinating. It's pretty good. Alice Feeney, His and Hers, I gave this one a 4 stars. I liked it, but I think there was one part about it that I really didn't care for that much. And then also the ending, again, just came out of nowhere. I gave this one a 4 stars. I think I would knock it down to a 3. I don't know if 4 stars was high whenever I first gave it to it. I feel like I remember thinking that it was kind of high, but it was not rock, paper, scissors. It was not in the same realm as that one, I don't think. So I think I'm comfortable giving it a 3. Then we have Children of Fallen Gods. This one's the second book for the World of Lost Hearts trilogy. I don't remember much about this one at all. I feel like this one was very slow to me. I would give this one a 3 stars. I just thought it was kind of boring. It got really boring, honestly. And yeah, I ended up giving this one a 3 stars anyways, so that checks out. All the Lies by Nicole Sanders. This is another one of those books. I loved it. I thought it was really good. Very interesting, definitely not what I was expecting at all, but at the end of the day, I don't think that it was as good as Don't Let Her Stay, so I did give that one a 4 stars. I would keep it at a 4 stars. Definitely not my favorite of her 2 books, but I did love it nonetheless. Then we have Homewreckers by Mary Kay Andrews. I did not like this book at all. I could get through it, obviously I finished it, but at the end of the day, I just didn't care for it. It was just weird. I've talked about this like again in the last video, so if you want like a more in-depth of that, then I have a couple of videos where I trash this book, honestly. I gave it a 2 stars. I would probably keep it there just because it wasn't insufferable, I guess. I don't know. I didn't care for it though, obviously. The third book in the World of Lost Hearts trilogy, I gave this one a 4 stars. I'd probably keep it there. The second book definitely gave me a dip. It definitely bored me a lot. The third book, there was a lot more action. I don't necessarily know if I understood the end that much, nor do I care to. I'm just gonna keep it at a 4 and be done with that. Then I have Thousand Boy Kisses. I gave this one a 3 stars. That probably checks out. I thought it was very, very unrealistic. The guy was so in love with this girl. I don't know. There was just something about it. It was sweet, but it just felt really like YA romance. That's what it felt like. Then I have It Ends With Us. I gave it a 3 stars. I would keep it at a 3 stars. It wasn't bad by any means. I didn't really love it that much. It definitely was something. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have much to say about that. I made an entire video on this one and the second book, which I also gave 3 stars. They just weren't my favorite at all. These would be on the very low end of 3 stars. I take that back. I'd give the It Starts With Us. I'd give that 2 stars. Not 1, 2. I didn't like it. I liked the first book a lot more than I liked the second book. The second book definitely did not need to happen. But it did, nonetheless. It just wasn't anything that I cared about. Then I have Too Soon for Adios. I read this in a Kindle challenge. I would never have picked this for myself. It wasn't bad, I guess. I didn't love it that much, but it definitely wasn't terrible, I guess. There was a lot of things that really frustrated me with the book. I think I would drop this down to a 2-star, honestly. I gave this one a 3-star to begin with, but I would drop it down. It was just kind of odd. Also, like, would somebody ever actually give you a house like that? No. I don't know, it's just unrealistic to me. I didn't care for it, so I think 2 stars makes sense for it, honestly. Reckless Girls, I gave this one a 4 stars. I would keep this one at a 4-star. I remember reading this in one sitting. I was thoroughly entertained by it. I think the ending definitely tripped me up. I was not expecting that, but I did really like it, so that makes sense. Where the Crawdads Sing, I give this one a 4 stars. I would keep it at a 4 stars, but at the same time, I'm also kind of annoyed by it. I watched the movie a couple times and then I read the book and then it really just burnt me out from it, so I don't care about it anymore. I would give it a 3-star because of that, but I do know that when I first watched the movie, I did thoroughly enjoy it, so that's why I would kind of keep it a higher rating. But at the end of the day, I'm just over it. The Paris Apartments, I gave that one a 3 stars. I would keep it there. It wasn't bad, but I just didn't care for it that much. I remember expecting it to be a lot better than it actually was. Fault Lines, I don't remember anything about like the different books with these. I read it and it was fascinating. It kind of reminded me of San Andreas. I'll give the first one a 3 stars, which is what I gave them originally. I gave all of them 3 stars. I'll give that one 3 stars because it was good. But by the time we got into the second one, I just didn't really care anymore. But I do think that I wanted to finish the series just because they were small little books and I wanted to know what happened. It definitely should have just been one big book, but it wasn't. Whatever. Pumpkin Spice, Not So Nice. I hated this book. It was just really weird. I didn't like it, but I could get through it, so I'm just gonna give it a 2 stars. That's what I gave it originally. Not my cup of tea at all. Awkward in October, I gave this one a 3 stars to begin with, and I would keep it there. I thought it was very sweet, but it was also kind of weird. I take that back. I would actually, no, I wouldn't. This is not the book that I'm thinking of. I don't know. 3 to 2. I'd give it a 3 stars, I guess. Just Don't Fall. I like this one a lot more than I liked the other ones. I would probably give this a high 3 to 4, but I'm not sure. I gave it a 4 to begin with. I'll keep it at a 4. I didn't necessarily care for the ending that much, but I did like the premise of it. I thought that the overall story was pretty good and I liked it, but the end again was not my favorite, but I could get over it. I do remember really liking it and not expecting myself to like it that much. Then I read Bunny. I gave this one a 3 stars just because I really didn't fully understand that. I would keep it at a 3 stars because it wasn't bad, but like I didn't get it, you know, just, I was confused. Tender as the Flesh, I will not stop talking about this book. This book is so good. I don't know why. It was such a tiny little gross story. It was terrible, disgusting, but I ate it up. I literally loved it. I thought it was so good. I will never stop recommending it. I think about it all the time. It's probably like one of my favorite books, to be honest. I read Pet Sematary by Stephen King. I felt obligated, I think, to give this one a 4 star, so I did, but I didn't care for it that much, to be honest, so I think I would definitely drop it down to a 3. I think I was being nice giving it a 4 stars. I just felt like Stephen King, you know, I don't know, I wanted to give it a 4 stars, but it just, I don't know, wasn't that great in my opinion, but to each their own. Fault Lines Aftermath, I'd give this one a 2 stars. Again, I don't even remember what happened in this book. I remember, like, the family found each other or something, and then something happened, and I was like, you're joking. Like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. This book also, it ticked me off to no end because half the time, the people were so ridiculous. They would, like, literally be watching a tsunami come at them, and they'd be like, well, I'm eating lunch, so I can't, like, leave. Like, are you dumb? There's a tsunami coming. Like, you're gonna die. You're literally gonna die. Your food's gonna get wet. You're not gonna be able to eat it anyways. Just take it and leave. Whatever. To each their own. I thought I was obnoxious. Then we have Indigo Ridge. I gave this one a 4 stars. I would keep this one at a 4 stars. I enjoyed this one so much. It definitely was like a different book. Good grief. Can I pick this up? It was definitely a lot different than I was expecting. I don't know what I thought it was gonna be, but it was like almost like Yellowstone in a way. Is that like an accurate description? I feel like it was. I don't know. I liked it. I thought it was really good. Then we have Daisy Jones and the Six. I gave this one a 4 stars, not a 5. I don't know why, but I really liked it. I would keep it at a 4 stars. I thought it was really good. I loved the show too. They're fabulous. I loved the casting too. I read Intercepts by TJ Payne. I liked this one. I think I gave it a 4 stars. I would keep it at a 4 stars. It was definitely very interesting. It almost reminded me of Tender as a Flesh, but not like exactly the same. It was just ever so slightly different. It just gave off different vibes, but like, I don't know, same book, different chapter. I guess, like a textbook, something along those lines. Me Before You, I had the hardest time trying to pick a rating for this book. I was absolutely feeling all the feels, but then I went and I read Goodreads reviews on it, and I understood every single one of them, and I completely agreed. So then I was like, should I give this a 3 stars? Am I gaslighting myself into thinking this is 5 stars? Is it actually 5 stars? Do I actually like this book? This is the first book that I actually tabbed. I tabbed it, so I have to give it 5 stars. It's so good. It was so good. I really loved it. I loved that they were friends, and then they just kind of developed more and more and more and more, but they weren't like really into each other that much. I don't know. I don't know what the deal was, but I thought it was so good. Then I read Great and Precious Things by Rebecca Yarros. I gave this one a 3 stars. That checks out. I would keep it at a 3 star. It was not bad by any means. It was like so-so. It wasn't great, I guess. It was just kind of like a simple book, I guess. I don't know. I didn't think there was anything special about it, so definitely kept it at 3 stars. The Last Letter, I actually really liked this one. It had a lot more depth, I feel like, than the other ones. There were some parts that I just could not stand about this. Like the fact that the girl was so unlucky. A lot of times I found it very unrealistic. And also the plot twist. The plot twist drove me nuts. I was so mad. I was like, there's no way that actually happened. And I was kind of upset about it too. It was really sad. But I thought it was really good. I liked that one, so I'll keep it at a 4 stars. Then I read The Things That We Leave Unfinished. I did not like that book at all. I again have another video about these, so you'll see more in depth about that later. I just haven't posted them yet, but I don't know. I just didn't like it. Not a Happy Family. I read this one. This one was what I thought that the Paris Apartments was going to be, essentially, but it just wasn't. This one was so much better. The only problem I had is that I took a massive break in between this. I picked it up at the beginning of the month, and then I finished it at the end of the month. And if I would have just continued it all along, I probably would have given it like close to a 5 star. I did not like the ending of this, though. I will say that. The ending was so boring, and they could have done so much more with it, but they just didn't. If You Tell, what did I give this one? I gave this a 4 star. I would keep it at a 4 star. It was not, like, I don't want to give it a 5 star. It was really terrible. It was really terrible. I, like, can't get over it. It was such an interesting book. It was, like, completely unlike anything I've ever read, but, like, the things that these kids were going through was disgusting. It was so gross. Definitely check trigger warnings on that one. Never Lie by Frida McFadden. I give that one a 4 star. That was probably one of my favorite Frida McFadden books that I've read thus far. I like that one a lot. I thought it was pretty good. You know, I'll probably get like 2 months in and I will not have a single idea what that one was about. But since I just read it not that long ago, I definitely would keep it at a 4 star. Then the last book that I have on here is Good Elf Gone Wrong. I was going to do Christmas romance books or something like that for a week, and so I found the most out-of-pocket Christmas books that I could find, and then I ended up not doing anything with that video. I ended up just scrapping it. So I went ahead and finished this one for absolutely nothing. It was like 600 page of smut, essentially. So I finished this one. I gave it a 2 star just because I could finish it. It was like tolerable. I would give it a 1 star though. It was just terrible. It was awful. I can't get over it. It was like one of the worst books I've ever read. It was terrible. And the smut. Oh my gosh. Okay, well that's it. I totally got to talking fast at the very end because my leg hurts so bad. I am running out of battery and I am also running out of storage on this card, so I had to get going very quickly. But these are all the books that I read last year. I read all these in 2023. These are my new updated ratings that I would say. Whether or not I'm going to go on and change these on Goodreads, I don't necessarily know. I doubt it, but I could. I don't know. I'm just going to keep it up in the air. This is all the stuff that I would have changed, all the stuff that I would keep the same, just kind of my extra little thoughts about them after so long of reading them. Just because, you know, it's one thing for me to talk about them right whenever I finish reading them, but then to go back and be like, hey, well, this is actually what I think about it now. I just don't get to do that very often. And I'm also not doing a full complete, I'm not doing like a 2023 wrap up necessarily, so this kind of will be, just because I talked a little bit about all of them anyways, because I can't stop talking. But I guess that will be my all-in-one video for today, just kind of going ahead and showing you overall what I rated them all. Some of them you've never seen me talk about, so that's kind of cool. You get to actually hear something about those. But this is my fully updated list. These are all the ratings that I would give all of the books that I read last year. Let me know if you have read any of these. Let me know what you rated them. Let me know what books that you've read that you just absolutely have to change your mind on. They just do not fit your ratings anymore. Let me know if you agree with these, if you disagree with them. I don't know. I'm just curious. I always want to know what you have to say. I always love to hear from you guys. But that's it. That's all I got for you guys. Of course, my battery literally couldn't just stay charged for another 5 seconds while I said my outro. That's okay, whatever. But thank you guys so much for being here. I greatly appreciate each and every single one of you. I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day, and I hopefully will get to see you in the next one. See ya.